The temptation on any trip to Israel is to fill your days with the sights that appear in every guidebook and on every tour itinerary: the Western Wall, the Dead Sea, the markets of Jerusalem, the beaches of Tel Aviv. These are magnificent places, and there is nothing wrong with visiting them if you have never been to Israel before. But if your purpose is to evaluate this country as your future home, spending your limited pilot trip time at tourist attractions is like evaluating a potential spouse based solely on their performance at parties. The person you might marry is not the one who shows up dressed to impress for public occasions, but the one who wakes up beside you on a Tuesday morning, deals with a broken dishwasher, and negotiates with you about what to have for dinner. Israel, the tourist destination, is dazzling and unforgettable. Israel, the home, is something else entirely, and your pilot trip should be designed to encounter that everyday reality rather than escape from it. Start each day of your pilot trip by doing something that immigrants must do every day: buying breakfast. Not at your hotel restaurant, not at a café catering to tourists, but at the local makolet or supermarket in whatever neighborhood you are exploring. Walk to the store, stand in line. Try to understand the Hebrew on the packages. Ask for help finding the milk if you cannot locate it. Pay attention to how the cashier interacts with you, whether they are patient with your stumbling Hebrew or clearly annoyed, whether other shoppers seem friendly or in too much of a rush to notice you. This 15-minute errand will teach you more about daily life in that neighborhood than an hour of walking around admiring the buildings. Repeat this exercise in every neighborhood you seriously consider. The character of a makolet, the selection it offers, the prices it charges, and the people who shop there tells you an enormous amount about who lives nearby and how they live. Schedule appointments with at least 3 different real estate agents in each area you are considering, and use these meetings not just to see apartments, but to understand the market. Ask each agent how long properties typically stay on the market, what the average rent is for a family your size, what you should know about the landlord-tenant relationship in Israel, and what they would tell you if they were being completely honest about the downsides of this neighborhood. Some agents will try to sell you on their listings regardless of fit, but others will recognize that helping you find the right neighborhood now will earn them a client for life. Pay attention to which agents seem to understand what you are actually looking for and which are simply showing you what they have available. When you tour apartments, look past the staging and imagine the reality. Open the cabinets and check for signs of pests. Flush the toilets and turn on the faucets to check water pressure. Stand on the merpaset, the balcony, at different times of day, and notice how much noise comes from the street, whether the afternoon sun makes the space unbearable, whether you can hear the neighbors through the walls. Ask about the Vad Bayit, the building committee that manages shared spaces, and what monthly fees are charged. These details are not glamorous, but they are the substance of daily life. If you have children, your school visits should be among the most intensive appointments on your pilot trip schedule. Contact schools well in advance of your trip, explaining that you are considering Aliyah and requesting a meeting with an administrator who can speak with you about the integration process for new immigrant children. Prepare a list of questions that goes beyond curriculum to address the practical and emotional aspects of absorption. How many new immigrant children enroll each year, and from which countries? What Hebrew language support is provided, and for how long? How do teachers handle the gap between a child's intellectual abilities and their Hebrew proficiency? What is the homework load, and how are parents expected to be involved when they may not be able to help with Hebrew language assignments? Ask to walk through the school during a regular school day, observing how children interact in the hallways and the playground. If possible, speak with parents of other immigrant children who have gone through the integration process and can share their honest experiences. The school your children attend will shape their experience of Israel more than almost any other factor, and you cannot make this decision based on reputation alone. Spend time in the public spaces where residents actually spend their time. Find the neighborhood park and visit it twice, once on a weekday afternoon when school lets out and children flood in with parents and grandparents, and again on Shabbat when families come for longer visits. Sit on a bench and observe. What languages do you hear? How do parents interact with their children and with each other? Does anyone approach you, curious about the stranger in their midst? Or does everyone stay within their established social circles? Look for the cafe where locals gather, recognizable because the furniture is slightly worn and the menu prices are lower than tourist areas. Order a coffee and stay for an hour, watching who comes and goes. These observations will tell you about the social fabric of a community in ways that no brochure or website can convey. Attend religious services if spirituality will be part of your Israeli life, and attend multiple services in different communities. Even if you know what denomination you belong to, Israeli religious life does not map neatly onto the categories you know from your country of origin. A synagogue that calls itself Orthodox may be far more or less observant than what you are used to, and the customs may be unfamiliar even if the theology is the same. Pay attention to how you are welcomed, whether anyone approaches you to offer a siddur or explain the community's customs, whether there is a kiddush after services where you might meet people. If you are a woman, notice whether women seem engaged in the community or peripheral to it. If you are single, notice whether there are other singles and whether the community seems to have programming for people in your stage of life. Talk to community members after services and ask them directly what they like and do not like about this synagogue and whether they would recommend it for someone in your situation. Visit the local health clinic, the kupat cholim, even if you are not sick. You have the right to enter and ask questions as a prospective patient, and understanding how healthcare works in Israel is essential to your planning. Ask about the process for registering, for getting prescriptions filled, for seeing specialists. If you or a family member has an ongoing medical condition, ask whether the clinic has experience treating it and what specialists are available in the area. The Israeli healthcare system is excellent, but it operates very differently from systems in other countries. And understanding these differences before you arrive will reduce stress during your adjustment period. Meet with the Municipal Absorption Office, the makolet, in any city you are seriously considering. These offices exist specifically to help new immigrants, and the quality and availability of their services varies significantly between municipalities. Ask about Hebrew language classes, employment assistance, and any social programming for new immigrants. Ask about municipal taxes and what services they fund. Ask about the availability and cost of GAN, preschool, for young children. Compare the responses you receive across different cities, as some municipalities are far more supportive of new immigrants than others, and this support can make a meaningful difference in your first years. Do not neglect the mundane logistics that will consume hours of your time as a new immigrant. Visit a post office and observe the process. Find out where the nearest government offices are located for the bureaucratic appointments you will need to make. Locate the nearest Misrad Hapanim, the Interior Ministry office where you will handle much of your immigration paperwork. Identify where you would go in an emergency, the nearest hospital, police station, and fire station. None of this is exciting, but all of it represents the infrastructure of daily life that you will navigate once Israel becomes your home. Finally, leave space in your schedule for nothing in particular. Some of the most valuable moments of a pilot trip come when you have no appointment, no destination, and no agenda except to wander and observe. Get deliberately lost in a neighborhood you are considering. Turn down side streets you did not plan to explore. Stop when something catches your attention and let yourself be present to whatever is happening around you. Israel is a country that reveals itself in layers, and the layer most relevant to your potential life here is not the one that appears in your carefully scheduled appointments, but the one that emerges when you allow yourself to be still and simply witness a place being itself.